welcome, a special welcome. If this is a return trip for you, we've been busy. We have been growing in size and hopefully in wisdom. Because we've grown so large, yesterday and today, for the first time in our history, we've had to split our graduations into separate ones. Yesterday we graduated 117 graduate, credential, and adult degree completion students. Today, we'll graduate 160 undergraduates. This is one of the largest numbers we've graduated, and I think one of the best groups we've graduated. Brother and sister graduates, deepest thanks for sharing your incredible energies and talents with us. Thank you for sharing your dreams and ideas for the future. Families and friends, thank you for the inexhaustible support that you have given day in and day out and often at night. It has made an unbelievable difference. Sisters of the Holy Names, thank you for founding this indescribable institution, giving us a profound set of core values and the love of the divine in each of us. Faculty and staff, my colleagues, thank you for the superb work that you do every day, burnishing minds into bright jewels, nurturing budding spirits into verdant gardens, lifting up the minds and spirits of us all. Thank you for being here at this most lovely and unrepeatable moment. It's been a very good year for the university community. In the fall, for the first time, U.S. News and World Report acknowledged that HNU is the most diverse university in the United States. And tomorrow, the world. We're more diverse than Rutgers University in Newark. This spring, within our quiet, comprehensive campaign to raise $35 million in new resources for our students, we reached $17.9 million, including our largest gift ever from a single person, former trustee, yet anonymous, but will be revealed when everything is concluded. She gave $4.6 million for endowed scholarships for students who want to become teachers. In a few moments, we'll have to bid adieu to you, our graduates, our students, our classmates, our sisters, our brothers. Please stay in touch. Let us know your adventures, your successes, and your failures. Believe it or not, we all have them. And whatever you do, please try to practice every day radical hospitality, social justice for all, and help others to come to the same courtyard so they might stand or sit where you are today. Congratulations and Godspeed, the class of 2014. It's my pleasure to introduce our student who will do our invocation. She is Alexandra Lugo, completing her Bachelor's of Arts degree in Liberal Studies. She is from Alta Loma, California. She was very active in Holy Names as a co-president of a Live Club, a member of the Pacific Islanders Club, and Latinos Unidos, a member of the cross-country team, and a resident assistant. She will now lead us in our invocation.
Please stand. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day that has both come too fast and slowly. May we never forget the memories we have made and the bonds we have grown. May we thank you for the love you have shown. Let us be grateful for our mentors and professors who gave us the smarts, to our family and friends who have touched our hearts, and to you who helped us see the light in the dark. Let us be grateful to be done with all those stairs and to be done with all those papers that made us pull out our hairs. But may we never forget what the sisters have taught us: to help the poor, the oppressed, and to always go to Mass. To leave a light footprint and to always provide hospitality. To fight for what's right with love and morality. But most of all, let us be thankful for this journey, though not ending, but just beginning. Lord, please bless this class of 2014 in whatever our next step may be. In the names of Jesus and Mary, amen. Amen.
Please sit down. It's my pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker. Keith Devlin is of Irish descent, born in Hull in the Lake Country of England, earning his bachelor's degree in mathematics at King's College London in 1968 and his PhD in mathematics at the University of Bristol. At Stanford University, Devlin is co-founder and executive director of Stanford University Human Sciences and Technologies Advanced Research Institute, co-founder of Stanford's MediaX University Industry Research Partnership Program, and senior researcher in the Center for Study of Language and Information. He is the author of some 34 books and 80 research articles. His books are split between formal mathematical works and those of more popular interest. He was awarded the International Pythagoras Prize and the Carl Sagan Prize for Science Popularization. He was a regular columnist for the Guardian newspaper in the United Kingdom from 1983 to 1991, centering on math and technology. Currently, he's a regular contributor to the Huffington Post. Since 1994, he has been the math guy on NPR's Talk of the Nation Science Friday. Devlin has been called upon to translate the most complex subjects into clear language for listeners of all ages, all of us. Using examples and experiences from learners' daily lives, like riding a bike and playing video games, Devlin explains mathematical theorems and concepts to people of all ages and all levels of knowledge. Keith and I became fast friends after he applied for the Dean of Science at St. Mary's College, and I had the joy of hiring him as Dean of Science in 1993. We then worked together till about 2000. It were 7 very great years. In fact, we referred to it lovingly with our colleagues. It was the Dream Dean Team. One of the things I appreciated most about Keith, and there are many things I appreciate about him, is that every year he taught a course, he picked the most remedial course possible. He wanted to see each year if he could make math relevant to those who were the most adverse to learning the subject. And because he did that every year, it kept him always on a cutting edge. Will you welcome Dr. Keith Devlin?
So, hello everyone. Back in 1993, the year when some of you were born, your president, Bill Hines, was in the process of hiring me to be his Dean of Science at St. Mary's College of California, over the hills behind you, where he was the academic vice president. The selection process lasted the interview process lasted a couple of days. In addition to many interviews with faculty and administrators, Bill and his wife Margie took me out to dinner one night in one of Lafayette's fine restaurants. At some point in the evening, one of them, I think it was Margie, asked me what really motivates me in life. Why do I do the things I do? I had, after all, taken a number of huge gambles with my life and career. The first risk was my decision at age 16 to stay in school and pursue a dream to go to university. Today, that hardly sounds like a risk. But to a young boy born and growing up in the industrial, fishing and port city of Hull in post-Second World War England, it was more than a risk. It was a challenge to my schoolmates to beat me up for having, as they used to put it, ambitions above my station. That was 1950s UK. A challenge, by the way, which I finessed by becoming one of the school's star rugby players. Almost every problem has a solution. Becoming a star player in the macho sport of choice in Hull gave me considerable freedom to spend a lot of time with my head buried in books. Although, truth be told, I liked rugby. But this is a commencement speech, so I'm supposed to impress on you the values of hardship and self-sacrifice. For back then, society's expectations in the working class community where I grew up was that boys left school at 16 and started to bring money into the family, and girls got married and had babies. Goodness, how times have changed. For the better, I think I should add. And though my parents supported my decision and stood by me as I stayed on for 2 final optional years at school and then 3 years undergraduate study in London, they couldn't really afford it, but they did. But deep down, I think they felt a little bit ashamed that their son was not pulling his weight in society. Back then, my decision made me an outsider. There were several other times in my life when I chose the path less traveled. I took another chance in the early 1970s, not long after I got my PhD in mathematics. I was offered a junior faculty position at Oxford. The smart decision would have been to take it. But I also had an opportunity to go to Germany, to work for a year, just 1 year, with the leading mathematician in my field at the time. One option offered me an entry ticket to a comfortable life as an Oxford academic. The other was temporary, and at the end of the year, I would need to find another job. But it would be a possibly once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work alongside the best person in the world in my area. I could not resist the exciting prospects of that 1 year. I took it and never looked back. And for the next 10 years, I traveled the world doing research and giving lectures on the work I started in that 1 year in Germany. Took another gamble in the early 1980s when I stopped doing research in classical pure mathematics and started to look for ways to use mathematical ideas in understanding human communication. That was largely untrod territory, and it was not clear it would lead anywhere useful. But as a result of that work, in 1987, I was invited to Stanford and have been attached in one way and another to that university ever since. But to get back to Bill and Margie Hines in that Lafayette restaurant, the answer I gave to their question about what motivates the big decisions I make was this. I did not want to find myself on my deathbed wondering, what if? Asking myself, what would life have been like if I had not turned my back on an opportunity that came my way? After all, if something doesn't work out or you find you don't like it, you can always try something else. But if you pass an opportunity, if you passed on an opportunity, chances are it may never come your way again. And then you'll always be left wondering. Back in Hull, when I had the opportunity to change my life through education, I took it. As a result, I've led a life far different from most of the other kids I went to school with back in Yorkshire. Many of them never left. Perhaps they led happy lives and were, or are, content. All I know is it would not have been enough for me. And only you, the members of the class of 2014, can know what works best for you. You will certainly not be lacking in choices. When I compare the life I have been able to lead with the lives people led in previous generations, it's clear there's been a major shift. The rapid growth in science and technology that began in the first half of the 20th century meant that when I was born in 1947, not only was life expectancy itself much greater than at any earlier age, as a result of improved diet, better hygiene, and major advances in medicine, but the pace of change went up dramatically and continues to accelerate. In the late 1970s, I started to use a new experimental technology that allowed computers to communicate with one another. Back then, that was called the ARPANET in the United States. I was at the University of Lancaster in the northwest of England, but by connecting to the ARPANET through a gateway at University College London, I was able to start using a cool new tool called email. Back then, computer networks and email were used only by a relatively small number of university researchers. We felt like, and were, pioneers in a new online landscape. One of the main hubs for online life was Stanford University. Through email, I was able to start collaborating with researchers at Stanford. And a few years later, in 1987, I received that invitation to come over to Stanford for a year to work in an exciting new think tank called the Center for the Study of Language and Information, which had been created to try to figure out what the benefits might be of networking computers together. I have to admit that none of us saw the World Wide Web or e-commerce as potential uses. So much for foresight. I didn't know it at the time, but my life was about to make yet another major change of direction, because after my year at Stanford came to an end, I didn't return to the UK. There was just too much going on in and around Stanford and Silicon Valley. People often ask me, what's the big secret behind Silicon Valley's continued success? It comes down to three factors: history, geography, and attitude. The history part is the Cold War. The Second World War began as old-style warfare and ended through scientific and technological warfare. When that conflict was over, the US faced a new adversary, its former ally, the Soviet Union. The Cold War was fought not on the battlefields or the oceans or in the skies, but in universities, laboratories, and the emerging high-technology companies. Though high-tech was not new to the Bay Area, starting in the 1950s, the government allocated billions of dollars to stimulating the building of a massive new technology complex in the Santa Clara Valley, replacing the orchards that led to its earlier nickname of the Valley of Heart's Delight with the seemingly endless sprawl of houses, shopping malls, and tech companies that gave rise to its new nickname, Silicon Valley. Carried along with this wave of growth, and in due course partially leading it, Stanford University went from being a sleepy little liberal arts university to an international research powerhouse. Well, that's the history part. Why is Silicon Valley where it is? That's the geography part. Stretching 50 miles from San Francisco in the north to San Jose in the south, bounded by the coastal mountain range to the west and the San Francisco Bay to the east, the Santa Clara Valley was flat, largely uninhabited farmland that could quickly be turned into a vast network of roads, housing, and the 1 or 2 story simple, empty box buildings needed for the new high-tech industries. It was served by 3 Bay Area airports and had many colleges and universities, one of which, Stanford, had a structure that enabled it to work with both federal and industrial funding in a way that only MIT is able to emulate. Actually, I think we emulate them, but don't tell them that. Climate and the surrounding terrain and outdoor recreational opportunities also played a role, providing an irresistible magnet to the kinds of smart, well-educated young people that make up the bulk of any high-tech workforce. They flocked there in their tens of thousands. I, too, found the entire work, culture, recreational package irresistible when I first moved there in 1987. So, by the way, did my two then teenage daughters, who still live in the Bay Area. The third part of the equation that made Silicon Valley is attitude. By the way, only a mathematician can get away with talking about an equation having 3 parts. But I am a mathematician. So attitude, the third part. Being created rapidly from nothing, Silicon Valley was not held back by history, traditions, or culture, which can cripple innovation. New technologies were being developed in a new location by people new to the area, coming from all over the world. Everyone was doing something new, learning as they went along. And with that came the most powerful factor there is in innovation: complete absence of fear of failure. The rest of the world sees Silicon Valley as a place of huge successes. To those of us who live and work there, it's a place of endless failures. For every Cisco, Intel, Yahoo, Google, or LinkedIn, there are hundreds of failed startups. Companies fail every day in Silicon Valley. But whereas in most parts of the world, having launched a company that failed might make others reluctant to hire the founder or invest in their next enterprise, in Silicon Valley, exactly the opposite is true. For what Silicon Valley is really about is not technology, not even ideas for technology or for their uses. Rather, it's about people. People who are willing to take risks, and when they fail, are able to dust themselves off, reflect on why things went wrong, learn from that experience, and try again. And again, and again, and again, until one time you get it right. Coming from England, an ancient country with hundreds of years of straight-laced tradition, I found the Silicon Valley attitude to risk-taking and failure totally liberating. And I'll give you one personal example of many. A few years ago, I worked as a consultant to a large video game company that I'm not allowed to tell, but you can guess, that wanted to build an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game, that would help kids learn mathematics. 4 years later, when it became clear that this was much more difficult than anyone had anticipated, the company decided to drop the project. At that point, I could have just left it. I lived in one of the most attractive, affluent places on the planet. I had a full-time position at one of the best, most wealthy, and most prestigious universities in the world. I could lead a comfortable life into retirement. But although that game studio realized that genuinely educational MMOs were not financially attractive in their terms, in the course of 4 years working on the project, I learned how to embed deep mathematics into video game interactions and not spoil the game. So, when the studio pulled the plug, I called up some of the folks who had been working with me on the project and told them I was going to found a company to design and build the next generation of mobile games for mathematics learning. And several of them decided to join me. The result was Brainquake. We released our first math learning game for iOS and Android last fall. It's called Was It Trouble? And this year we'll be releasing other products. I think it's a powerful indicator of the possibilities available today that in the same year I became eligible for Social Security benefits and life on a pension, I was able to release the first product of my own company and contemplate a whole new life as an entrepreneur. So just think, how much more can a young person graduating today achieve? How much more can each of you, the class of 2014, achieve? Yeah, you read a lot of hand-wringing articles in the press about how difficult life is in today's world, how young people face difficulties that previous generations did not, which is true. But remember this, the people who write those articles mostly make a living writing about what other people do. That's a good profession, and it serves a valuable role in society. But just as policemen have a wholly inaccurate view of the crime rate, because they spend a lot of their time dealing with crime, and security agents have a ludicrously exaggerated sense of the dangers of terrorism, because they spend their days trying to prevent it, as we pay them to do, so too, the folks who comment on society and its problems develop a very lopsided view of the opportunities available to a young person setting out today. The fact is, the opportunities are there, waiting for you to take advantage of, more than ever. All you have to do is be willing to take risks. Learn to view failures as just very necessary steps on the road to success. As a good rule of thumb, if you're not failing at least 2/3 of the time, you're not really trying hard enough, and you're not going to maximize your potential. I'm going to leave you with a quote from a basketball player that I came across recently. He says this: "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life." Sounds bad, no? All those failures? But there's one more sentence. He goes on to say, "And that's why I succeeded." His name is Michael Jordan. Thank you and congratulations, the class of 2014.
Keith, it's my pleasure, on behalf of the trustees of Holy Names University, to present this Doctorate of Humane Letters honoris causa for illustrious service to humanity and nobility of spirit, and you have been admitted to the ranks, it'll happen in a few minutes officially, of the graduates of the class of 2014. It's my pleasure to introduce Sister Cynthia Canning, a member of the Holy Names University Board of Trustees since 1981. At this time, she will introduce James Kelly, a former member of the Board of Trustees who will also receive an honorary degree today. Sister Cynthia.
The criteria for nominees for the honorary degree of Humane Letters from Holy Names University are impressive. The person must, first of all, have demonstrated personal and professional qualities consistent with the mission and goals of the university. Further, the recipient must also satisfy a combination of the following criteria: scholarly achievement, community or church service, the promotion of justice, and personal moral integrity. Demonstrated and recognized leadership and contribution to the betterment of society through their talents and enterprise. It is my great privilege this afternoon to introduce an individual who is profoundly deserving of this honor, and who has demonstrated each and all of these criteria in his personal and professional life, and in his deep commitment and support of Holy Names University, spanning well over 30 years. James P. Kelly's contributions to the university for 32+ years are legendary and beyond measure. A longtime member of the Board of Trustees, he has served as Vice Chair of the Board, Chair of the Advancement Committee, and member of both the Executive Committee and the Capital Campaign Steering Committee. It was under Jim's leadership of the Advancement Committee that both the Science Renovation Capital Campaign and the Student Activities Center Capital Campaign were accomplished, each with great success and significant benefit to the student experience here. Although he received his BA in history from St. John's University in New York in 1951, and later his MBA from New York University, Jim is as close to being an alum of Holy Names University as one can get. He is married to Rosaline Kelly, HNU class of 1955, an illustrious and highly esteemed member of the alumni. Together, Jim and Rosaline have supported every major endeavor on this campus: the critically important annual campaign, the construction of the Valley Center for the Performing Arts, the Michael Feinstein concerts, the athletic department, the renovation of the Science Center and the Student Activities Center, just to scratch the surface. As trustee Ann Reynolds once said, there isn't an inch of this university's campus that hasn't benefited from the generosity and vision of Jim and Rosaline Kelly. Jim Kelly is universally admired and respected for the wide range of his good work. He is an entrepreneur and living example of the American dream. It was at great risk and an uncertain future that Jim co-founded Emerald Packaging over 50 years ago. Starting in a small Berkeley warehouse with limited equipment, under Jim's leadership, the company grew dramatically into the most dynamic, progressive, leading-edge organization in its industry. It is now operating 24/7 out of a modern 150,000 square foot facility in Union City, and is nationally recognized as one of the produce industry's top packaging suppliers. On 2 separate occasions, in 1987 and 1996, Jim received his industry's coveted highest honor. Jim is a tireless advocate for this generation's young people to have this same opportunity for the American dream, even in today's challenging environment. Hence, his extraordinary generosity to Holy Names University, his support of family aid for Catholic education, his philanthropic involvement in more educational institutions than we have time to list this afternoon, including Next Step Learning Center, where I hail from. These contributions are all a matter of public record and are impressive on their own. But there are also countless other private, unsung, extraordinary kindnesses and acts of generosity and reaching out to others in distress that are simply part of the way that Jim and Rosaline live their lives, and that are truly life-transforming for other people. Perhaps even more important than Jim's talented leadership and his generous, seemingly limitless philanthropy have been the gifts of mind, heart, and spirit he has brought to every aspect of his involvement in this university. He is unwaveringly committed to the mission of the Sisters of the Holy Names, to social justice, and to the core values that make Holy Names University the very special place it continues to be. In awarding this honorary degree to Jim, we also honor and express our gratitude to all of the Kelly clan, including Jim and Rosaline's daughter, Maura, and her husband, Daryl Koberline, both active, admired, and very generous members of the HNU alumni, as well as the Kelly sons, Jim and Kevin, all of them characterized by the same commitment to the community and to increasing educational opportunities for those who might otherwise not have them. Congratulations, Jim, and thank you.
Jim, it gives me immense pleasure to recognize the extraordinary contributions you have made to this university, the advice and the wisdom and the thoughtfulness that you have given us all, and I am personally particularly appreciative of that. So on behalf of the trustees, we recognize you for your illustrious service to humanity and nobility of spirit, particularly to Holy Names University, and declare you Doctorate of Humane Letters honoris causa. Thank you. We now have a pleasure of awarding 2 presidential medals, and I would ask if Sister Irene Woodward, former president of the Holy Names University, as it was known at the time, Holy Names College, from 1972 to 1982, would come forward. As a member of the faculty, she was professor of philosophy, and the Irene Woodward Endowed Professorship in Arts and Humanities, our first endowed professorship, was established in her honor when she retired in 2003. Irene will introduce Jim Vose, the recipient of the President's Medal.
President Hines, trustees and regents, honored guests, graduates of the class of 2014, and especially our honoree, James Vose, and his gracious wife, Eileen. It would be impossible for me to describe my delight when I was invited to introduce James A. Vose to you today. But delight turned to horror when I realized the awesome task of selecting from among his many personal gifts as well as his myriad gifts to holy names. For if it is possible and appropriate to mention only a few today, or you'd never get to your diplomas. I could introduce him as a highly effective and successful corporate executive, especially as president, chairman, and CEO of Kaiser Permanente Foundation Health Plan and Hospitals, the whole schmear. Or I could introduce him as the wise and devoted public servant who has given himself unstintingly to the development of institutions and organizations in Oakland in the Greater Bay Area. Examples of this are his chairmanship of the board of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, the chairmanship of the Bay Area Council, and the chairmanship of his beloved Marcus Foster Educational Institute. Or, in fact, I think I could go in another direction. In keeping with Rome's recent activities, I bet I could make a strong case for his canonization. But I'll spare you and Jim. Today, I introduce James Vose as a leader, friend, advocate, donor, and inspiration for Holy Names University at a most significant and crucial time in its history, namely during the past 40 years. Jim first came to be known at Holy Names in the 1970s as a member of our small board of directors, composed largely of members of the Sisters of the Holy Names of Jesus and Mary at that time. He was nominated by some of the sisters who knew of his commitment to Catholic education because his 4 daughters had attended Holy Names High School. Jim's motive for accepting this invitation is typical of him. He cared and cares deeply and was utterly devoted to his family, no matter what other issue called upon him. And in turn, he learned from them and was inspired by them. He and we soon realized that he had come on board at a significant, and I would say crucial, time for this institution. By the 1970s, the world had changed dramatically, but especially had changed for what had been previously a small Catholic women's college in the Bay Area, but near the center of student activism at Berkeley, and which now faced unprecedented fiscal and organizational challenges. We were committed to facing these issues and to changing with the signs of the time, but we knew we needed someone with broader experience than ours to address the new opportunities that faced us. We needed someone who understood what we were about, especially the values in which we were rooted. Jim Vose, a man of both deep faith and broad vision, was the obvious choice to be the first chair of the board of Holy Names who was not a sister of the Holy Names. Imagine moving into that position. He and we struggled to stay true to our core values while meeting the new difficulties and joys of this evolving world. Jim, I think today, as you look at this thriving campus, at the amazing class of graduates sitting here before us, at the many friends and supporters who have joined us, you must admit that all of us would agree that your efforts have truly borne fruit. Jim's contributions to the years have been many and varied. I will describe only one as an example of his creativity and energy. Jim always encouraged us to recognize holy names as, though small, possessing gifts that are needed for our world. Instead of being only a peaceful, humble, serene college on the hill, he convinced us that we could offer our larger community something that no other institution was positioned to offer at that time. That is, a setting in which business and civic leaders could convene to talk, dream, and plan for the future of Oakland and the Bay Area. A place where no personal or political agenda controlled the discussion. And convene they did for years and years. The Holy Names Annual Business Symposium was a force for change in our city, and it was a force for change at Holy Names. It broadened our image in the community as well as our self-image to a more proactive, rich, creative entity. It brought new friends, advisors, and supporters to us, and many are still with us today. And Jim was the quiet driving force, behind the scenes and totally involved, to the extent that one year, we learned the day before the symposium was to take place that our staff person who was responsible for the entire setup for the event would be not here at all, either the day prior to setting it up or to supervise that day. I panicked. By the time I rushed to the general meeting room to see what was happening, to see what we could do, there was Jim Vos, already having left his responsibilities at Kaiser Permanente, sleeves literally rolled up, helping to set up the room, even checking to see that the skirts on the cover for the speaker's table were hanging straight. And so, again, Jim, when we look at the renaissance of business, for example, the thriving restaurant business in Oakland, and when we see the important community college events we sponsor now in our Valley Center, the respect that Holy Names experiences in the community, and the outreach that you have initiated, the outreach of our students in the Bay Area in so many ways, you must feel justifiable pride in what you initiated and what you inspired us to do. Jim's commitment to Holy Names never waned in all of these years since his days on the board. To this day, he takes particular interest in the lives of the students who have been recipients of a scholarship established by Kaiser Permanente in his name. He even came to the commencement last night to be present for one of these students' graduations, 2 commencements in 2 days. And our presidents have known that they could turn to him for quiet wisdom or compassionate understanding. He has been an ambassador through the years and a spokesman on behalf of Holy Names in unofficial as well as official ways. And we know that even though he is retiring from his last committee, he will never retire from friendship for Holy Names, nor will Holy Names retire from admiring him and loving him and turning to him. He has, last of all, the amazing record of having lived through 5 Holy Names University presidents, and he looks comparatively unscathed. So on behalf of the 5, Sister Lois McGillivray, who is here, and Dr. Hines, who is here, in absentia, Mary Alice Mueller-Liley, and Sister Rosemarie Nassif, and myself. On behalf of them and all of you, I introduce our most illustrious and deserving recipient of the Holy Names University President's Medal, James A. Vos.
Jim, if you'd come forward. Come here, because I can keep the mic. Jim, it gives me great pleasure, as the current president of Holy Names University, to bestow upon you the President's Medal and to say, wisdom and joy come in this quiet man whom we all owe a great debt of gratitude. Jim, I'll put that around you if that's okay. Our second medal recipient is Andrea Lee Bearcliffe Bryant, the class of 1960. Any 1960s out there? Okay, all right, okay. This is your opportunity. Prepare. A fourth-generation Californian, Andrea Lee Bearcliffe Bryant was raised in the East Bay of San Francisco. Her great-grandfather, Stephen Bearcliffe, had left Yorkshire, England, in 1849 with his father to come to America. They spent a year in Dane County, Wisconsin, before Stephen pulled up stakes and moved on. Arriving here in California, he finally settled in Red Bluff on the Sacramento River. Andrea graduated in 1960 from the College of Holy Names, now Holy Names University, majoring in philosophy and art history. In the summer of 1959, before her senior year, she boarded an ocean liner in New York to tour the great art museums of Europe. On the ship, she met Anthony Bryant, a 1952 graduate of Cornell University. She was traveling with the Catholic Newman Club, and he was bicycling through 4 countries with an American youth hostel group of 12. A budding shipboard romance ensued. As the ship docked in Ireland, Andrea thought, well, this will be the end of that. But Tony thought otherwise. Early in 1960, coming to visit his sister, who had just moved to Berkeley, he called Andrea for a date. Things developed rapidly, and on his next visit, he brought a ring. But there were many challenges to overcome. For example, Andrea was Catholic. Tony was Presbyterian. Another was moving to Wisconsin. But overcome this they did, and this romance blossomed into a half-century of loving partnership with 6 daughters and 7 grandchildren. This partnership also extends to the family-owned business, Century Fence, the largest chain-link fence in the Midwest, company in the Midwest. In a good year, the first distribution of annual profits is to the employees as a bonus and a profit-sharing fund contribution. In turn, the second distribution is to pay the tax on the first distribution. And the third, if it's a good year, goes to the family. And if it's an okay year, it goes to the employees only. And if it's a bad year, and Tony tells me there's not been a bad year, then it would go to nobody. The Bryant family embodies so very many of the HNU core values and charisma, especially the radical hospitality, justice, and their joyful sharing of their gifts with others. With regard to Andrea's alma mater, the Bryants are members of the Legacy Society. They have also endowed a scholarship in honor of Andrea's father, Noel, and mother, Mary, and they were contributors to the HNU science remodeling of Brennan Hall in memory of Sister Mary Baptista, director of the Laboratory Technology Program in Hematology and Dean of Students. In Wisconsin, they are major contributors to the Milwaukee Art Museum, the Milwaukee Ballet, the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, and numerous charitable groups in Waukesha County. They helped save the Waukesha Symphony by giving $100,000 a year for 5 years to pay off its deficit. Andrea has been an active board member on many of these groups. At the present time, she is chair of a campaign to build a new cancer center in Waukesha. Additionally, she acquired over 3 acres of land on Waukesha's outskirts to develop a children's park to enable children to be introduced to and explore the natural world. When I first met Andrea in the fall 2 years ago in Waukesha, she was finishing planting 1,000 brilliant orange, pink, and yellow tulip bulbs in their garden in honor of her daughter, Hillary, who had just died prematurely. This week, spring came again to Wisconsin. It does come. And the Bryant Garden burst for the second time with these tulips. The garden also bursts with whimsy. There is a wonderful large anodized steel butterfly chair which invites you to perch. But most of all, like Tony and Andrea, the garden bursts with joy and love. This is aptly reflected in an engraved stone nearby that reads, "A true friend is someone whom you should embrace with both arms." Would you welcome a graduate and a true friend of us all at Holy Names, Andrea Bryant. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Without the mic, it gives me great pleasure to give this medal, this President's Medal, to Andrea Bryant, who's living our values every day in Wisconsin.
And without a mic, I accept it from my class of 1960, who each and every member of that family loves Holy Names and honors you today, the class of 2014. Congratulations.
I think you're up, Beth. And it's my pleasure to introduce my academic colleague, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Elizabeth Martin.
Christine Hayes, president of the senior class, is graduating with a Bachelor of Arts degree in International Relations with a minor in English, and she hopes to have a career in international affairs. She grew up in the Bay Area and attended Holy Names High School before she entered the university 4 years ago. Christine has worked in our Early Admit program as a college mentor. She will introduce our student speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Good afternoon, President Hines, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, guests, and of course, the graduating class of 2014. Thank you for being with all of us today to celebrate one of many remarkable achievements that this class will make. You should be proud of all the graduates that stand before you today. I would like to introduce two undergraduate speakers, Tierney Burris and Brittany Rogers. Tierney Burris is an amazing individual. I have known her for all my 4 years at Holy Names University, and I know she will do fantastic things in her future. She will be receiving a Bachelor's of Arts degree in English and Multimedia Arts and Communications. She has been an influential member of the Associated Students of Holy Names University by serving 3 years as a voice for the students. Tierney has helped freshmen get settled into college as a peer mentor while also dancing to the rhythms of the Pacific Islands through the Pacific Islanders Club. But if there is one thing I know about Tierney, it is that she can find creativity and captivate you with the stroke of her pen. In the future, I will go watch a play, and it will probably be hers, or she may be the one on stage. Brittany Rogers was born and raised in Oakland, California. She graduated from McClymonds High School in 2006 and attended Dillard University, where she met her wonderful husband, Sharman Rogers, with whom she mothered 2 beautiful children, Blake and Reese. Brittany went on to receive her AA in Social Behavioral Studies from Merritt College in 2011. Also in 2011, Brittany began her studies at Holy Names University. She will be receiving her Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology due to her interest in the area of positive psychology. It is through the encouragement of her family, peers, and educators that Brittany decided to pursue the goal of becoming a registered nurse. She also intends to obtain her master's in science in nursing anesthesiology. Please help me give a warm welcome to our 2014 student speakers, Tierney Burris and Brittany Rogers.
Hey guys. In order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. Bill Cosby. Hello, Dr. Hines, Board of Trustees, Regents, Cabinet members, faculty, staff, beloved family and friends, and to the class of 2012, wow. Sorry, guys. The class of 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, we've made it. Who would have thought, after all the ups and downs, we'd make it to this day, still standing together, strong and proud? That's one thing I can say about this class. We are some strong, outspoken, crazy, wild, fun-loving, embracing big kids. I know all of us finally reached 21 or older, and we think we're adults. Yes, turn up. And by law, we are. But I want to remind you that it's okay to still be big kids. Smile and laugh as much as possible before all the stress kicks in November, 6 months from now, with worries about paying off loans. 4 years, 4 long, stress-filled, comedic, and complicated years have brought us to this day. It's been a tough trek, with the countless trips to financial aid, the registrar office, to make sure all the paperwork was cleared and in. All those late nights during freshman year, where we stayed up laughing and telling stories, talking about ghost stories passed down from class to class, about which floor was spookier or more haunted, discussing how far a walk it was from 5th floor of Dunn to go to the library, and using that as our excuse for not studying there. Talking for hours even about this very moment. Our graduation day, commencement, all the questions we'd ask. Will it be hot? What will we wear? Ooh, shoes. Wait, we're sitting on the grass? Will we have cords or stoles? Wait, what's a stole? Who am I sitting next to? Can I just have my diploma? Do we really need to walk up and down all those stairs? Well, lucky to say, we only have to walk down them this year. Thank you so much, Sister Carol, and the committee for the location of reception change. The trip to the public market is quite a treacherous one. To think, the people we came in with that August afternoon during orientation in 2010 are sitting by our sides. We were joined by all the transfer students who came into our family throughout the years and added greatness to what was already good. Some of our fellow 2014 graduates will not be walking with us today, but we all need to honor their dedication to keep going and working hard to rejoin us in being called the class of 2014 in December. Another proud quality we all have, perseverance. Sorry. Thank you for nominating me to represent you as the speaker today. I am happy that I agreed to this because looking at all of you beautifully dressed and ready to move into the real world amazes me. We've all grown so much. From the crazy and random partying to the calm and easing quest retreats, the arguments over stupid things, constant room swaps, the people who were once our enemies becoming friends who stick up for each other. From confused, frantic freshmen to mature, frantic seniors. The competitive events and challenges in the dorms, like Dun Relay or the 3-on-3 tournaments, even Powder Puff football. Cheering and screaming our heads off and busting eardrums at soccer and basketball games. It's been one heck of a ride, but I can tell you one thing. We should regret none of it. We've become the bright intellectuals we are today from the life lessons we went through and learned from it here at HNU. I feel like the reason we succeed is not only from our perseverance, but the push given to us from our families at home and our HNU family. Faculty and staff members who made sure we got our work in on time so we can graduate this year. Those who opened their doors willing to listen to us vent, cry, rant, and share moments of exciting news. All the professors who believed we could pass the classes and write captivating essays and perform at our highest abilities, no matter how tired or drained we were from the sleepless nights. And even the ones who told us we could not do it. I'm sure I can speak for most of us in saying thank you. To our families, who came from places as close as Hayward to as far as Hawaii and Southern California, maybe even further across the country. Thank you. Thank you for helping to keep our heads on straight by calling every day to make sure we turned the papers in or paid the fees, for driving us completely bonkers and dealing with our vicious vocal retaliations, but still turning around and loving us anyway. Your patience is a true virtue, and your lack of patience, well, that can be saved for another conversation. I know that I wanted to quit not once, not twice, but many times. I wanted to go back home to Los Angeles, cry in my mama's arms, and ask my daddy for kind words of comfort. My parents told me to stick it out. It would get better, but it didn't matter. I wanted to leave. Be away from the crazy hustle and bustle of classes, crowded hallways, stress between friends, and the wild, untamed entities called residents in the residence halls right behind you. I had to sit and think to myself what I would be losing if I left. At first I thought, nothing but stress. Then I realized I lose much more than that. My almost free education, emphasis on almost, vast opportunities, valuable friendships, and a new loving family away from home. Not to mention a lot of unique, quirky characters that could be used in future writing endeavors. In summary, I'm glad I chose to stay, and I'm sure you are too. Not to mention, we've gained some awesome calves. As we go forward, I want you all to think about the quote I mentioned in the beginning. In order to succeed, your desire for success should be greater than your fear of failure. This means that in order to gain success, our desire for it must outweigh our fear of not getting it. Basically, our dreams are reachable if we forget our fears and not being able to reach them. If you want to be a chef, then go for it. I know some of us are opting for the easy route and the more practical way out after graduation, getting a job, paying off loans, losing your childhood dreams. But I want to tell you all, we don't have to do that. We are at the age where chasing your dream career is practical. In closing, I want to leave you all with the self-created quote. Dream a bigger dream. Do not just watch as it passes you by. Chase at full speed for the things you most desire now. Worry not about the judgment of others, because tomorrow their judgment will become part of your past, and the past is but a memory. To you all, I wish peace, love, and all the best in your future endeavors. You are all awesome. Just believe and remember that. Love you guys. Thank you.
Good afternoon, President Hines, members of the Board of Trustees, regents, faculty, and staff. To the members of the class of 2014, I offer my congratulations to you and your family and friends. I'm sure that many of our family and friends feel that they have earned an honorary degree at Holy Names, a degree in which I cannot promise you. But what I can promise you is many heartfelt thank yous. We give much gratitude to the faculty and staff of this wonderful university for their hard work, dedication, and impartation of knowledge that challenge our mental beings and sometimes our mental health as well. We're here today because we're celebrating the end of what we started. We are finishers, and this is something to celebrate. Yes. I have a confession to make. I was not always a finisher. I was notoriously a non-finisher. In high school, I was a student with A's for the first marking period and F's for the second and third. Before coming to Holy Names, I started at 2 other universities, and I didn't finish, in case you were wondering. 3 times the charm. There were moments when I wondered whether not finishing was a part of my DNA, an unchangeable characteristic that doomed me to a life of failure. Why couldn't I just finish? Jobs, relationships, fitness routines, New Year's resolutions. Every time I didn't finish, it was a cruel reminder that I wasn't a finisher, or so I thought. Well, not finishing is not a part of my DNA, and it isn't a part of yours either. I had to learn how to be a finisher. Being a finisher means having hope, and hope holds uncertainty. Hope means relying on others. Hope means believing that tomorrow will be different than today. I spent a long time bracing myself for the worst, preparing for disappointment, expecting people to let me down, and I had to let go of that. I had to make room for hope. I had to learn to trust others, and in trusting others, I had to learn to trust myself. Because, you see, every time you break a promise to yourself, you erode a tiny bit of trust, and it adds up over time. So I had to learn to keep the promises I made to myself. Letting others down is horrible, but letting yourself down, now that's just the worst. As Langston Hughes wrote, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. My path, much like many of you, has not been a straight one to graduation. It's had twists and turns. Sometimes it seemed like I was heading backwards instead of forward. Finishing takes faith. Martin Luther King once said, faith is taking the first step when you can't see the whole staircase. Faith takes courage. Faith takes humility. There were times when I had to get on my knees and pray because I didn't know what else to do, but I knew that I wanted to finish. So, I finished the college application 3 times. I finished my papers, many. I finished my exams, most I passed. I finished college. I finished college. We finished college. And every time we finish something, big or small, Let it remind us that there is a finisher in us. There is someone in us who sets goals and reaches them. We're finishing one goal, and there's a sense of nervousness in the pit of my stomach because I know that finishing is another word for beginning. That means a new goal is on the horizon, one that may seem even further away than getting our bachelor's degree. People are asking us, so what now? Yes, we're nervous, but our time here has allowed us to exercise our finisher muscles. And I know that we're prepared for any goal that we put our minds to achieving. Ralph Boston once said, being the first to cross the finish line makes you a winner in only one phase of life. It's what you do after you cross that finish line that really counts. So now that we're college educated, what will we do? What type of contributions can we make to the world? What are the ways that we can make this world a better place, a more equitable place? How will we use our incredible gifts and talents to make a positive impact? Now that we're finishers, how can we serve? I am confident that we have received the skills and deepened our gifts so that the answers to these questions, though perhaps not easy, will be within our grasp and ability. Together, we go forward to answer them to make the world a better place. Thank you.
Candidates for degrees will now be presented. We will announce those candidates who are graduating with honors. There are 3 levels of honors based upon the following criteria: summa cum laude, a minimum cumulative grade point average of 3.85 for all academic work; magna cum laude, a minimum cumulative average of 3.7 for all academic work; and cum laude, a minimum cumulative grade point average of 3.5 for all academic work. Following the presentation of candidates, degrees will be conferred by Dr. William Hines, President of Holy Names University. We ask you to hold your applause until all the candidates are presented and the degrees conferred. Is there some place I can put the flowers? Dr. Hines, the following candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the baccalaureate degree. Candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts are Evelyn Faye Calloway, Brianna Kenzie Muhammad Smith, Yadira Del Carmen Munoz, Katrina Lauren Saflor, cum laude, Jaime Lopez Bustamante, Christine Elizabeth Hayes, magna cum laude. Maricruz Ramales Garcia. Ashley Yvette Mulder. Alejandra Michelle Lugo. Michelle Alexandria Hoya. Catherine Grace Hayes, summa cum laude. Jaren Kelly Epstein. Kyle Bogda. Trevor Ray Parker. Zachary J. Holt. Ashley Jordan Rich. Erin Elise Trevine. Angelique Alia Manji. Lisa Ann Baines, cum laude. Brianna Dale Mylick. Micaela Morgan. Monica Eileen Williams. Shonda Elise Watson. Charisse Chanel Williams, cum laude. Christine May Formento Casipe. Rocio Adelaine Diaz Tafoya. Isabel Irene Figueroa. Bianca Desiree Guzman Penate. Yesenia Lekuga, magna cum laude. Jacqueline Nicole Ausman, magna cum laude. Jordan Alina Banez. Gabriel John Felix Ching. Michael P. Gomez. Catherine Bluestone McGuire. Misty Monique Martinez, cum laude. Brandon Uweno Marzan. April Duran Agasid. Sarah Kristen Ordoña Peralta. Kayla Nalani Kaleohi, magna cum laude. Lindsay Lorraine McKean. Mina Cassandra Moily. Lauren Darlene Clough, cum laude. Ana Cecilia Madrueno Duenas. Annie Gray Milton. Samantha Beltran. Valletta Louise Watkins Whitfield. Lee Jacob Trevino. Doriana Angelique Freeman. Nicole Denise Snowden Watson Reams. Marissa Dawn Matthews. Robin Michelle Myers. Megan C. Delgado. Fatima Dadger. Philip Michael Polk. Lilium del Carmen Castellanos. Anna Renee Stith, magna cum laude. Heather Michelle Sylvie. Reginald B. Harper, Jr. Deanna L. Lewis. Carol Denise Cade. Scott Norman Souza. Jesse Caleb Savage, cum laude. Daniel Catalan. Adam Jean Crossman. Brianna Nicole Horton. Hazel Zatino. Amy R. Reyes, cum laude. Holly Ann Subier, magna cum laude. Jacqueline Blanco Banuelos. Tatum Rianne Bales. Mariah Christensen. Rachel Ashley Nancy Vartanyan. Mela Lepa Henrietta Holani. Jasmine Renee Hicks. Ariana Sarday Mitchell. Jacqueline Suddeth. Stephanie Christine Wright. Kate Louise Russell Bogan. Tamika LaFay Henry. Candace Lachey Cummings. Tariq Ali Shaheed. Kristen Marie Yurkovich. Deben Neal Calixto. Valentina A. Fierro. Tierney O'Shea Barros. Caitlin Naminani Petrinos. Magna cum laude. Michelle Zamara Gomez Hernandez. Ada Kelly Escobar. Alexandria Nicole Calderon. Susan Margit Robertson. Taylor Christine Cruz. Janelle Rhea Ortiz. Jordan Alexis Thornton. Lenny Thel Santos Katambe. Brittany Denise Rogers. Christina C. Watson. Rudy Carlos. Tyrone R. Robinson, Jr. Amnesty Leona Bradley. Sonia Marie Aguilar. Cassandra Marie Castillo. Carlos Sheldon Greer. Erica Nicole Roosevelt. Cleveland D. Mitchell III. Renique L. Fitzpatrick, magna cum laude. Mose Alfonso Jennings. Alexis Kathleen Ibarra Skinner. Wilfredo Angelo Rivara. Gustavo Ponce. Andro Fistonich. Veronica Colleen Perry, magna cum laude. Marisha Jones. Stella Obiama. Kim Wan T. Lee. Din Hu Lee. Andrea Christina Almager, cum laude. Candidates for the Bachelor of Science. Allison Marie Snyder. Jordan Kylie Elwood. Candidates for the degree of nursing. Hazel Valenas Buenviaje. Ramandeep Kapoor, magna cum laude. Maria Clarissa T. Farrar, cum laude. Ulysses Radam Riamico, summa cum laude. Rick Irwin Campos Culatan. Lovepreet Singh. Jessica Marie Sotelo. Sandra Marie Delphin Perret, cum laude. Abha Dakal. Sandeep K. Rai. Guadalupe de Branca. Sakchia Chim. Sanjita Datta, cum laude. William L. Comer. Lucian Kano Balmer, magna cum laude. Charina Barcelona. Neha Viade, magna cum laude. Eric V. Malora. Ana Zanoletti Nunez. Maria Guadalupe Mendoza Sanchez. Veronica Perez. Ana M. Mota. Dimpna Helen Doherty, cum laude. Margot Dassa. Florence Ndubisi. Mbere Onyador. Regina Ogochukwu Mbakogu. Irene Ray de Vera. Nisha Saini. Tina Marie Cheney, magna cum laude. Mark Angelo P. Arzala. Noralyn Lantacan Garcia. Sabrina Doan. Lindsay Ann Ormaza. Rhea Cruz Capinpin. Joyce Ann Valdiabella Cosico. April Ann Bauzon. Will the candidates for bachelor's degrees please rise for the conferring of your degree?
The degrees don't work until I confer them. By the power vested in me by the trustees of Holy Names University, it's my privilege to confer upon each candidate here the baccalaureate degree with all the honors, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereof. Graduates, you may move your tassels from the right to the left side of your mortarboard. It's my privilege to introduce my colleague, Sister Carol Salmon, Vice President for Mission Effectiveness, who will now present the Founders Medal.
This is Bill's. It's okay. In 1958, the faculty of Holy Names University established the Founders Medal Award to honor a graduating senior who had demonstrated unusual leadership at the university. Although leadership can be demonstrated in a variety of ways, it has to be such to lead us to think, this is an admirable human being whose acquaintance has enriched the lives of those who have been privileged to know her or him. This year's recipient of the Founders Medal is undoubtedly that kind of person. This person has been described as someone with an enthusiasm for learning. Could I ask for the audience to please be quiet? Thank you. I'm sorry. This person has been described as someone with an enthusiasm for learning and a gift for making everyone feel as if she or he is the only person in the world during personal interactions. Known as someone with a clear vision, this student has grown to truly embody the charism and core values of the Sisters of the Holy Names. Over the past 4 years, this student has had an impact on our campus as well, as in activities both locally and outside of the United States, constantly seeking to increase leadership responsibilities. With an inner call to seek justice, this person attended the HNU-sponsored trip to the School of the Americas to peacefully protest the combat training of Latin American soldiers at Fort Benning, Georgia, helped build homes with Habitat for Humanity, and work with the Sisters of the Holy Names in Tutwiler, Mississippi. Spent time learning the history and culture of Oaxaca, Mexico in our immersion study trip. On the home front, activities such as being a peer mentor, a member of the orientation team, a college mentor for the Early Admit program, a student worker in admissions, and a member of the Model United Nations and Social Justice Clubs has kept this student busy outside of classes. However, this person is also able to boast a grade point average of 3.857. This year, this student's responsibilities culminated in being the president of the student body, where, as a gifted orator and excellent listener, she was committed to representing the student voice, especially as a member of the Institutional Planning Council. By now, you've probably guessed that the university proudly bestows this year's Founders Medal on Catherine Hayes.
I'm pleased to introduce at this time Sister Martha Raleigh, a member of the Holy Names University Board of Trustees since 1987. We are pleased Sister Martha will be leading us in the final blessing. Sister Martha.
Let us stand, please. Let us bow our heads and pray for these graduates and for ourselves. Spirit of the divine, inspire these men and women as they continue to grow in your grace and wisdom. Give them the power to do miracles wherever they may go from this sacred place. Give them miraculous eyes to see need, miraculous hearts open to give and receive love, miraculous ears that willingly listen to the voices of oppression and loneliness, miraculous voices that speak out for truth and right, miraculous hands that help any and every person, miraculous feet willing to walk in others' shoes, and miraculous faces that smile at strangers. Give them passion, passion to fight injustice, passion to seek peaceful resolutions to conflicts, passion to advocate for the equitable sharing of resources, and passion to protect and sustain your creation. Give them conviction, conviction to love, and conviction that love is the most powerful force that exists. Conviction that hope is not a privilege, but a right. Conviction that kindness is never out of style. Conviction that they are most beautiful when they are their best selves. Conviction that giving up is not an option. Conviction that it is worth it to live by the golden rule. Bless them with minds that never cease searching and learning. Bless them with opportunity to earn an honest living. Bless them with a community of fellowship and faith that strengthens their souls forever. We thank you for today and ask all this with confidence in your eternal and unconditional love. And we say, Amen.